change to recent heat wave conditions that have been belting down. But the track looks good, the ground looks fantastic as ever, well watered. And something that I think we'll have to be up in the commentary box all day as well to keep our energy up, Claire. Well watered, well coffeed up, well caffeinated.
It is, but you mentioned it's a great contest for the last few days. I've been fortunate to be here for the first ever women's test the last few days, and it certainly felt like Rachel Hayhoe-Flint was shining some sunshine down on us benignly.
Right, first ball of the game. Just a fraction short. Dropped into the onside. Middlesex will be off the mark. They'll think two, but just the single. Middlesex missing out marginally by a return to finals day to defend their League Two Blast title this year. A match at Radlett, which they had to win with a bonus point. Win handsomely they did, but not sadly for them with the bonus point they needed. It was Gloucestershire that progressed on the final day of that competition. First ball for Downer as Lawler prepares to go again. Just a brief check of the field before the bowler sets up. It's a long leg and a deep third that are the two out in the power play. Fraction short of a length. She feels she's missed out there, Downer.
A bit tempting, wasn't she, outside the off?
The width was there, that's the short boundary. Deep. Yeah, it's a deep boundary to what is the onside currently for the right-hander, up towards the grandstand, up the hill as well. Now, a little bit of width on that again, this time Fuller and Downer able to try to throw her hands at it, not quite connected, a little edgy down to deep third, but a single gets her off the mark.
A deep third, she looks like she's in the deep end there, isn't she? She's a long way, and the ball must be coming at a downhill, I imagine.
Well, Point doesn't have much of a chance because Point's...
Point's on the rope.
Indeed, or indeed is square leg now, just behind the umpire. Running through the field in a moment.
Ooh.
Oh, now that's come back sharply. And
they all
a little
count,
bit
though.
of movement.
They all count, don't they? 4 runs there. Little edge. Runs away quickly down the slope there at Lord's.
Yeah, looking to open up once more. Hughes, the wicket keeper. He's moved up and down the order for Middlesex.
Middlesex in their beautiful pink kit. Striking.
Oh, now nearly lifted that to backward point. Fraction short of a length again from Lawler. I suggest she might want to go a little fuller at this stage, just to see what's out there. It's a green surface, isn't it? As we said, there's the overheads. And these balls will do a little bit for the first few overs. So that one that brought the inside edge from Hughes already. Block hole to finish, that's better. Give it the chance through the air, certainly this morning. I'd like to see what it's doing off the seam as well, and that's where the length was perhaps a little short in that first over, but no major damage done. Middlesex 6 without loss after the first over.
The SCG team are sort of blending in with the green from our wonderful bird's eye position up in the what looks like an alien spaceship, one end of the Lord's ground, looking down on the turf. I was fortunate enough to see Middlesex play earlier in the year in the One Day Cup against Derbyshire, and Saskia Hawley really marshalled those troops really well. They look like a really good unit. You say like they just missed out finals day with vitality as well.
I mean, last year they beat Yorkshire in the final of the Blasts, and Yorkshire a tier 1 side this year. They were a tier 1 side last year. They're a phenomenal side, but Middlesex stormed everything else before them last year. The way I put it, Middlesex were almost tier 1.5 last year.
They were not losing a wicket in that final, were they?
Well, indeed, but going into the final though, Yorkshire were still the heavy favourites, but Middlesex, as you say, they absolutely tore into them. Right, Longhurst from the pavilion end. Short and gets away with it. Downer will be slightly disappointed. She picks out deep square.
straight to the fielder there on the ropes. So as you say, she'll be grateful she's right in the right place there as the ball comes steaming towards her.
This will be a test for Longhurst's discipline here. Right arm over to the left-hander with an extremely short offside boundary. He'll be barely 10 yards behind that 30-yard circle for this one. Pitch squeezed in here at Lord's for this match. Point is back, and a change to the field which sends back deep square. I just wonder would they be better with the deep square and the deep mid-wicket at the moment, but they've got the protection at points. But the line here is going to be crucial for Longhurst. There we go, she's onto the leg side and it's fine at the deep backward square. I do think they're going to have to rethink that one. They'll pick up 2. 9 without loss, Hughes onto 7.
Well picked up now. Defending that big pocket, in fact it's the biggest pocket on the ground as we look down on it.
Yeah, I think a deep mid-wicket and a deep square here's the way to go. But we shall see. What you don't really want to do is the bowler afraid of bowling a straight line here for being hit into those spaces on the onside. Protect with those 2. If she slips outside off, then there's boundaries to be had. Beautifully bowled, slower ball, good line. It's hit straight to mid-on, could be a chance. She might have been home, the throw misses.
Yeah, better throw. Might have been much more threatening. So but they're putting the fielders under some pressure here, our Middlesex.
Slow ball again, pace off on that. A little bit of shape away as well, up the hill. As we said, we'll expect a little bit of swing the first couple of overs here. That is the other factor, isn't it? The slope here at Lord's, which slips from the grandstand down to the toes of Old Father Time. Bowls just a single, eased away into the offside. Lie down as she moves 2-3. But yeah, just going back slightly to Middlesex. This year I think they've changed up the side a lot. They've tried to make sure that everybody's got an opportunity, and not that would be to the detriment of the side, but when you do change your side up as often as they have this year, it can affect results. I think that maybe will be what they'll reflect.
Yeah, you say change up side, but that's the thing with the tier 2 teams. They will have to change up because they aren't fully professional. So they'll be relying on students, they'll be relying on people coming in and out of the squad, playing most of their games at the weekends if they possibly can, because they're trying to fit other stuff in as well. And you also mentioned about Yorkshire. What you should explain, that you mentioned that they were sort of tier 1 in tier 2 really, because they were the only fully paid professional team operating in tier 2 last year, but automatic promotion for them into tier 1 this season.
11 without loss after 2. Tallulah to continue, deep third, quite fine, and long leg, the 2 back, pondering that deep third actually. It's a point, this could be 2. I wondered whether that deep third needed to come around a little bit wider, because there is that gap there for the single, but yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. The edge goes fine and it's 4 runs.
Well backed up there in the field.
Oh, yes, no. It's home at the non-striker's end. It's a tightly knit field all around the bat. That's nicely timed, beautiful. Way backward a square for 4.
Nice boundary there. They're going to have a long chase off to this because it's heading towards the test boundary there, which if you had a wider shot you might see that there's a sort of scorch mark where the boundary was for the last 4 days in the heat.
Dot into the onside, 17 without loss. See up there again, as I say, it'd be good to see just what flight there is. It's a gentle single taken. There's the kids, they've enjoyed that one. The lower tier of the mound stand. There's a good number of kids in for this one, which is great to see.
They're in some glorious yellow kit, which I think the Australians will be enjoying. And they're very close to the action there with that short boundary on what is now the leg side. Of course, they're having to deal with a left and a right-handed bat with that short boundary as well. So, leg side this time. To Hughes.
Thinking about the single there, going to type onto mid on. That is the end of the third over. 18 without loss. So yeah, lower tier of the mound stand packed today with kids throughout the morning session, hopefully through the afternoon as well. I'm sure the teachers as well will skip off home.
What are you suggesting, Kevin?
Well, much as the commentators are thinking about lunch at the start of play, the teachers are thinking about home time when the morning bell rings. He plays once again into the onside. Nice line. But yeah, the field's interesting for this one, isn't it? Because of the dimensions of the playing area.
It's almost a square on that boundary, the leg side, the short boundary as well.
Fraction short and punished. Can't do it with the short boundary, the pull shot.
Should have enjoyed that. It sat up. Lovely shot. Satisfactorily hitting the noise off the hoardings as well, I think, which must be pretty pleasing as a batter.
Now goes Fuller, but leg side, no appeal on that one, whether there was a little inside tickle, but I think clearly leg side anyway, as that front foot went across, or cleared the way I should say, for Downer.
Yeah, she's looking a little bit frustrated there, having taken advantage of the last ball. Takes another look at the field. She'll be hoping the next one sits up so she can hit it on the leg side as well.
Yeah, it's unforgiving this for bowlers. There you go, perfect line and length and push back. Has she held it? All eyes on the umpire. Yep, she's walking. Down has gone. The length ball does the trick. It's pretty much where the bowlers have to stick today, given these fielding dimensions, as we were discussing. And it has brought the breakthrough at 22 for 1.
Fairly tame dismissal there, really, in the end. Just popped it up, having made that glorious shot into the leg side to get 4. So Middlesex find themselves first wicket down, 22 for 1.
Yeah, caught and bowled for Longhurst there, down a decent start, but there was the onus to get on, I think, with this for Middlesex, to give it a go at those short boundaries, see what they can capitalise on.
a tall figure of Angus Fraser on the umpiring at the far end from us.
Looking in as good a spirits as ever.
And then umpire Tough at the end that we're sat at underneath the scoreboard. Square leg. The school kids getting involved, Kevin?
Yep, first wicket of the day. They like the boundaries more, don't they? They've got their wicket. Right, Nair, the new batter, left-hander again, which again will bring that field into play. The tight offside line that will have to be bowled, or middle and off, really. Deep square and deep points remain a two back, but which is barely a deep point there because of the dimensions. But let's see what Nair's got to this. The slope here sliding from leg to off. There's Longhurst's right arm over. Holds onto the spot. On to come of the fourth.
SCG looking quite tight in the field here. We've had some shies at the stump. Some of the throws have been a bit cleaner than others. But, Middlesex taking one or two risks when they do get an opportunity.
Actually, the second game of mine against MCC is pretty mercifully cool this morning, isn't it, for SCG's women? Dots finished, 2 dots to finish the over the wicket off the fourth ball. 4 bowls. Middlesex Women 22 for 1.
Scarlett Hughes on 8. Now I've seen Scarlett Hughes at various places. So she played the Blaze, didn't she? Leicestershire, Sunrisers, Cambridgeshire, Huntingdon. She's been played for 1 or 2 different teams. Left-handed bat is always useful in the side as well. Going to see her with the gloves later, Kevin?
Indeed. Yeah, it was well, it's a tricky game last up for Radlett. The outfield's always a bit of a bobbler there, but also the bounce at Radlett is often as much of a challenge for the batters, the keepers, as it is the batters. Hughes doing her best standing up in what was a tight game. Middlesex had to, off the top of my head, I think they hit 180, which meant they had 140 to defend to get the bonus point, which they only marginally missed. Right, spin for the first time. It's Callaghan from the nursery end around the wicket to begin. Has got the 2 back here in the final over, sorry, penultimate over of the power play, and they have got that deep square and deep mid wicket now.
Yeah, they're covering that short boundary pretty tightly. Short mid wicket, deep mid wicket.
Around the wicket as well, so it's as such into the hitting arc to the leg side, isn't it? But with those 2 back, there is that element of risk. The right choice is definitely to tuck her up around the wicket, but again, when you have such a short boundary on one side in the game, it does bring other elements in. Nicely bowled once more, goes to the backward point.
Trying to force that away into the offside. Not quite getting the timing right yet.
Fraction short, the appeal goes up, but the length was the problem on that one, I think.
Yeah. Hughes is going to have a little chat with her, just to give her a bit of a fist pump. Keep the energy levels up.
Good bit of flight again, but it's leg side and away. We'll look for a couple. We'll get a couple. It's worked fine off the bat.
Just scampering there, a sort of surprise run, I think, down the leg side. Just a little edge, but they all count.
Once more, and pressure just builds on Middlesex here last over. The power play to come still, but 25 for 1. Callaghan 9 for 3 in this opening over of hers. And a dot to finish it is. So that's the end of the 5th over. Hughes 9, Nair 2, 25 for 1 it is. And after a few words from Claire, give me Vinny Sandu.
Yeah, so as Kevin mentioned, we've got one more over of the power play here. SCG keeping it quite tight in the field here. So it'll be interesting how well they can defend that short boundary down away from us, down the slope here at Lord's. About to be joined by a man in a very fancy suit. Vinny Sandu is looking resplendent. I do hope the comcam's on because it's worth a look, let me tell you, and his tie alone. And what you can't see also is he's got some fantastic matching shoes to go with the outfit. So I will shortly be joined by Vinny Sandu, who does lots of European Cricket League commentating. I'm sure he'll tell us all about that later. As Plummer comes in from the far end to us, right arm over to the left-handed batter. Has a little think about hitting that, but goes wide down the leg side, signalled by the umpire, Angus Fraser. His big white, wide-brimmed hat, dark MCC kit, and Scarlett Hughes' a little word with herself. Taps her bat in anticipation. Plummer in again. Tried to work that into the offside, but can't quite time that. Just knocks it on its head, straight to mid-off, and there is no run. 26 for 1. Angus Fraser looking resplendent there. Only wishing it was as sunny as it had been for the last few days of the test. The sunshine on his face. That's all up in the air. There's a gap there it's going to go into, but it is fielded quite nicely there. They just get the one out of it. That's got the SCG up and excited, Vinny.
Yeah, good morning. Morning, Claire, and a big thanks to Kevin for the warm welcome as well. Good morning, everyone. Really excited to be here. I suppose I'm the Australian representative, aren't I, with this SCG Touring 11, though have been based in Europe for quite a while now. But hey, what do you make of the start? I mean, obviously, just the 1 wicket down and maybe a little bit unders at the moment, given there's a pretty short boundary out there.
I think they'll be wanting more, won't they? Oh, it's over the... Oh, it's going to be a wicket. It is. It's caught behind. Off the back of the bat there for Nair. She kind of had a little fling at it, and it sort of felt like it came off literally the back of the bat, straight into the wicket-keeper's hands. Little dive forward. What do you reckon to that then, Vinny?
Yeah, it might have even been a little bit of glove there. And I've noticed something that's a bit counterintuitive. With a really long boundary at this end on the leg side, I've seen kind of bowling a bit straighter, a bit shorter, almost encouraging that horizontal bat shot. And it kind of elicited an error there, didn't it, from Nair? And yeah, the keeper didn't have to do too much, just had to jump forward a metre or two. And it was easy pickings really for Eva Rag behind the stumps. So the second wicket falls, build up of pressure really, and yeah, Middlesex on the ropes a little bit early here.
I think you're right. I think it was a bit glovey, wasn't it? We're just getting a replay. A nice dive forward. Almost in slow motion, that dive.
Yeah, no, they're good. As a keeper myself, the more time you've got, the better. And this one really, you'd have to fall over to miss it really. Well, she falls over and catches it really, the way she takes it going forward. And yeah, what a great moment for all these SCG cricketers as well. It's part of their tour. It's a 2-week tour. This is their 7th match and their 8th match of the tour today, and it's just wrapping up this week. So
playing up at Lord's.
It's brilliant, isn't it? And I tell you what, if you were ever going to hit one into the clock or into the famous old man time weather vane, this is the day, because that's the short boundary over there, isn't it?
You're setting that challenge, Vinny. That
into the kids as well.
Yeah, well, so we're going to keep an eye on the ball, as they say, as right arm over to the right-handed batter. That's in the air. We might have another wicket here, and we do. The wicket-keeper take a second catch in 2 balls. Oh, we're going to be in a hat-trick ball, Vinny.
Well, Riva Pindoria comes and goes just as fast as the captain is going to go. And against the short ball, isn't it? Encouraging the horizontal bat shot. I think it's a good toss to win for SCG 11 as well, because I think this is a tricky pitch to bat on, and certainly is proving that way so far. That's the 3rd wicket to fall down in the 6th over, 27 for 3.
We're going to be on a hat-trick ball in a minute. Yes, Pindoria, you can see her face as soon as she hit that ball, sliced it up in the air. There was a number of people who could have taken it, but the wicketkeeper said, no, that's going to be mine. Thank you very much. 2 catches and 2 balls. We're going to be on a hat-trick already, so we're going to have a bit of excitement. And as you mentioned, first chance, and maybe one and only chance for these girls to play on this pitch.
Yeah.
For the SCG girls, so...
You never know. The line of that ball, though, it's probably 4th, 5th stump, and she was trying to kind of hit it outside her eye line. It's probably too close to cut. Maybe a little bit ill-disciplined first ball. I know it's a 2020. You're kind of conditioned to play shots. I think she knew straight away she was in trouble. And once again, I think that Eva Rag, can't believe it. Well, she's on a hat trick as well, essentially. Same combination does the trick. 27 for 3 still in the power play. And you know the numbers in the power play. If you lose 3 wickets, your chances of...
Oh, is that... Yeah, there's
the
lots
stats.
of stats about, how many you lose.
Although in European cricket, we have both teams losing 3 in the power play pretty often. And I don't know what to make of it. Anyway,
you have some pretty wild cricket out there. We'll get onto that a bit later, probably, Vinny. So this is going to be a hat trick. Yeah,
here we go.
They're getting the crowd going. Is this going to be a hat trick ball? No, it is defended beautifully down. Yeah, I think Pindori just got a bit excited about that short boundary, I think, and she was
all
just
the talk of hitting the clock.
Whoa.
I know how...
Yeah, this is your fault, you see. You
the
told her to hit
whispers
the
have
clock.
gone around the ground. Now let's pepper the children who've come in this morning.
I don't think we should encourage this sort of, dangerous talk, Vinny. We'll be in trouble.
Got to get the crowds
Don't
in the
try this
action.
at home time. Plummer to Irving. Oh, it sort of clatters into the pads and bat.
But what they've done here is they've kind of skittled Middlesex a little bit, and just at a time where they probably want to start accumulating, start kind of ramping things up a little bit. Has been an underwhelming power play so far. They're kind of on the back foot and pretty conscious of losing another wicket. That'll be the end
With power play.
the 6th over.
Yeah, power play over. 6 overs gone. So Middlesex are 27 for 3. Hughes on 10, and Irving yet to get off the mark.
So Claire, I'll have to ask you about the experience of the women's test match here over the last 4 days. I know it wasn't the result that England would have wanted, but an historic win for India. We'll come back to that in a second, as it's Olivia Callaghan to take up the attack.
She is, and that's swept beautifully for 4 runs there by Scarlett Hughes, who moves on to 14, score to 31 for 3.
So I wanted to say, I really appreciate you rolling out the red carpet for me here and bringing European-style boundaries to Lords, because that boundary on the leg side at the moment is around about, I'd say it's probably about 45 metres at a push, and that just means the off-spinner here, Callaghan, she can't get too straight, otherwise I think she's going to go the journey. She certainly did first ball.
When you consider the fielding circle is 25 yards in the women's game, it isn't a lot further than 25 yards down to the rope there on what is now the left-hand side of the pitch as you look at it.
I think it's a perfect situation for a left-hander as well, to a spinner. I'd probably even be sneaking my guard across a little bit towards off. I know it's early, but you've got to back yourself. And yeah, the line has got to be right. In fact, I'd be forgetting about the stumps if I was Callaghan here. I think I'd be going wide, trying to use that longer side on the offside.
Hughes to face, takes a big swipe straight to the fielder at mid-wicket. Always a shy at the stumps. Well backed up as well. I mentioned that they're quite disciplined in the field. Was that your observation the last we've been watching? Or?
Well, yeah, definitely, and we're brought up with that as well. I suppose it's part and parcel. I know the whole world's kind of moved in that direction, but fielding is critical. Wins your games. Yeah.
Hughes, another swipe, and this time for 6. We're going to have our first boundary, and as Vinny called it, try and hit the school kids. It went certainly into the group, but I don't think anybody's hurt there, fortunately. But yes, right over the boundary.
Yeah, well, this might be one of those days where the medics spend more time attending to the crowd than attending to the players, because that was actually hit so well, went over all the school kids. And she takes this from well outside off stump. It's a beautifully executed slog sweep. And the result is, well, as we say in European cricket, that's a Maximo.
That's your social handle, isn't it? That's your Maximo. Do you have to go, at the end?
You can hold it as long as you like or as short as you like. I think she wants more of them. Here's Callaghan.
And that's played this time into the offside. Beautiful shot. It's going to get cut off. I thought we were going to get a boundary, but it is up the hill there. They get through for 2, so 2 more to the total from the bat of Hughes. Beautiful shot there, Vinny.
End of the over. Not quite, actually. I was going to say, though, it might be hard to hit a boundary out there, but of course more 2s, so you can still score on that side of the ground. There's plenty of open spaces over there.
Well, you mentioned the test earlier. We'll get back to that, but they ran a 4 on the test yesterday, which was going to be a rare opportunity. I'm sure that
it is these days.
I'm sure Sophie Eccleston really appreciated that goes wide down the offside.
Fields have gotten smaller over the years. I mean, if they had the boundary back here, I think we might see a 7 run today, because there's one very short boundary, and I suppose the rope's in on the offside at the moment as Callaghan Searches for another wicket.
And again, oh, reverse, and that's going to be a great shot. Then we're going to get a boundary there. We are. Scarlett Hughes helps herself to another boundary and moves on to 26, score 44 for 3. We're heading towards that first milestone of 50. Irving still to get off the mark.
Beautiful shot. I mean, it's a very modern shot, isn't it? With the reverse becoming, I suppose, a necessary part of the modern game where you have to manipulate, you have to, I suppose, throw the bowler off their lines. And I just can't believe how good the modern players are at this shot. And despite that being a longish boundary, she was able to
beautiful shot from
easily.
Hughes. Now, last night you were telling me about somebody who plays with the hands not crossed over. I don't know how we're going to explain
an end of the
that.
over chat, but it's definitely a chat we need to have. Last
One
ball,
more
the 7th over here from
One
Callaghan.
more ball to left-handed Scarlett Hughes, who comes forward and plays that through cover. There is backup behind that, so they're only going to get the one as a hand up to say no more. Sort of slightly wild throw, but they don't go for another one. So yes, that is indeed the end of the 7 overs, and Middlesex are 45 for 3. Hughes on 27, and Irving yet to get off the mark.
Yeah, so I do want to say hello to everyone. I know a lot of our European Cricket Network fans are tuning in today, and I'm very honoured to be here representing European cricket. And I know Brexit's been a big issue in the last decade, but we still think of England as part of the European cricket family. We've had England and Ireland and Scotland all as part of our European Championships, and yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. So a special hello to everyone that's tuned in and everyone else that might be listening to me for the first time. It's an absolute honour.
How many European countries are you generally sort of commentating with the women?
We're
and
involved
the
with all 34 ICC affiliated countries in Europe, and we're even now branching out to countries that haven't quite fulfilled the ICC criteria yet. So, for example, I was in Poland over the weekend covering another 4 countries, so probably 38 we've done and counting.
Brilliant. As Plummer to continue. Left-handed Hughes just plays that back to the bowler. There is no run.
So it's been a bit of a phenomenon, really, ever since it really took off during COVID, actually, where there wasn't a lot of sport on, just as we were starting this European cricket series. And I suppose because we were dynamic enough to run an operation on a skeleton staff, it became a bit of a thing, and it's been growing.
People were
ever
just
since.
Pleased to see live sport, weren't they, of
Definitely.
any sort?
Definitely.
So yes. So
I never thought it would bring me to Lords, but here I am.
well, here we are. Plummer in to Hughes, comes forward. Oh, it's gone up in the air again. We've got another steeple. There's somebody underneath it, and it's caught. So another big catch goes down, and Middlesex lose their 4th wicket. That's clacked up in the air by Scarlett Hughes. Has been looking quite handy here. Middlesex find themselves 45 for 4.
Yeah, Hughes has been the mainstay of the innings so far, and you have a look at the fact that she scored 27 out of the 45 runs so far, and the other batters have 16 off 25 between them. So it really has been a good effort by Hughes, but she's played a bit of a lone fiddle, hasn't she? It was Longhurst that took the catch. She settled under it nicely, and again, the fielding standards have been there from the touring Australians. And the Middlesex team on the back foot even further, 45 for 4.
I'll be dining out on the fact that I took a catch at Lords. The rest of my... I'm going to be dining out on commentating here.
Can I just say something as well?
Yeah.
I know that it was a predominantly Indian supporting crowd here yesterday at Lords. Would I say it's a pretty pro-Australian crowd so far as well, where that squeals of delight from the youngsters as that one settled in the hands of Longhurst.
I mean, you mentioned that they're going to want boundaries. They're going to want boundaries and catches, and maybe it doesn't matter so much. They're going to see their heroes. They're going to get some autographs later, maybe some selfies and things. But yeah, they're at Lords. They're having a day off school. What's not to like about that?
Honestly, one of the best things. I used to occasionally get the day off school to watch cricket at the Wacker. I'm from Perth, Australia. That's where I grew up. And it was amazing. And now I realise it's actually the teachers. It was their idea because they wanted to watch cricket as well.
Surprise, a day off.
Here's
Plummer comes in again. And it's left as it goes through, and there is no run. 45 for 4. Yeah, my cricket story starts with a school trip. My headmistress was June Bragger, who umpired internationally, and she took us to Edgbaston to watch an Ashes one day international. So that's where my cricket story starts. So maybe lots of those boys and girls down there are going to find that their cricket story starts here today at Lords, as Plummer comes in again to Whitmore this time. Oh, and it's bowled. It's clean bowled. That's the bails flying like shrapnel. And Middlesex find themselves another wicket down, Vinny.
Oh, quick game's a good game. It's going to be another duck as well. Alice Whitmore just played down the wrong line. I just think there's a bit of nibble in this pitch. It's a classic English green top at the home of cricket this morning. SCG have bowled pretty well. They're using the conditions. Let's have a look at this one on the replay. It was an inside edge, wasn't it? A little bit of nibble, back off the inside edge on the middle stump, and then you could see Whitmore's head went up in the air, looking at the sky, wondering why she had to have the bad luck that inside edge goes onto the stumps, and a 5th wicket falls.
You hate that, don't you, as a batter, because you just think, oh, that was me. That ball wasn't even on that line, and I've put it into my own stumps.
Especially in 2020 when you get out blocking. You know, it's one of those, you'd rather have a slash at that. Maybe you get an edge that flies away. But there was certainly a little bit of sideways movement there. I think Plummer's asking the right questions at the moment. And she's got 4 for 3, which is quite incredible. 4 for 3 off 9 balls bowled, and she's been an absolute superstar so far for the SCG 11.
And it brings Sarah Pearson to the crease. She has a highest score of 63. Now, it was certainly the beginning of the season when I did the research for that Derbyshire game. And she also took 4 for 4 with a ball in her hand, but we're going to see her with a bat in hand, and she's taking guard at the moment.
I'd say this is a fake hat trick because there are 2 wickets and 2 balls, but a wide in between. We get some of those sometimes. Like fake maidens when there's leg buys and buys in.
I love the fact that you're making the.
We've got our own vocabulary. I'll educate everyone as the day goes on.
We're going to learn. It's going to be a school day, as that's not convincingly, but just edged down to a sort of deep third there, but it's very fine. It's almost a sort of it's not a fly slip, but it's somewhere in between.
It's
two
pretty
of those.
fine third, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very fine third.
It's a sign the bowling team's on top when you're anticipating finer edges as well.
Yeah, and yeah, good line. That usually brings the fields finer behind the wicket keeper as right arm over again, and that's worked into the offside, but straight to the field, and there is no run. Still 47 for 5, so Middlesex searching for that first milestone of 50.
We've had a couple of ducks so far. Now, we had our duck, Derek, at European cricket, and Derek actually was very busy over the last few years. He actually retired last year. That's how busy our cartoon duck was.
I was going to say, is he a cartoon or,
he would have been
a
out
soft
for a
toy?
while.
Irving to face. Oh, reaches for that one. It's probably going to go wide. She pops it between the 2 fielders. They've got to chase up the hill, and they're going to get 2 runs. They got 2 runs. Is that Vinny?
Yeah, they get 2 there, and they should be getting 2 out there as well as we get to the end of the over. So 49 for 5, Middlesex trying to recover and put some sort of a score on the board to defend. I suppose you never know what's a good score until you see both teams bat. Hey, I've got to tell you about some of the venues I've been to. Speaking of ducks, there is, and you know, English cricket in particular, there's a lot of grounds with quirks. Right, you know, there's a tree on the ground, or there's a church on the ground, or you know, weird rules and playing conditions. There is a ground in Spain, in Alicante, where there's a duck pond right next to the ground, and play has to stop every day at a certain time. You can't schedule it when the ducks basically all walk across the ground together.
How lovely is that?
Beautiful.
I mean, that is village in Spain. Kind of village cricket.
It is village cricket.
Yeah.
And you've got to love village cricket. And it did lead to the great duck stepping incident of 2023, where one of the fielders chasing the ball to the boundary did step on a duck, but the duck was okay, and the fielder was okay.
I like a happy ending in the story there. I wonder where that was going then, Vinny.
It's a dangerous game sometimes. Anyway,
is it Ravo or Ravot to start from our end, as it were, and that's worked into the offside. There's 1 run in it, and is that the 49? 50 up, that's the 50 up for Middlesex, so relief for them to get to that milestone. 50 off 49 balls in 39 minutes.
been tough going though.
It is.
So Irving gets her chance.
She steps back and plays that into the leg side. There are 2 fielders, they're going to cover that quite nicely, and covering themselves. They just get the 1 run, so 51 for 5. Middlesex struggling here to get the timing and everything right.
Interesting, they've gone to spin now on what's a pretty seam-friendly wicket. You've got Rabbit here with a wrist spin, which I think is a bit of a lost art these days.
Yeah, dark magic, isn't it? That's rocked back, but left that one in the end straight through to the wicket keeper, and there is no run.
really important partnership, this one, because you're kind of getting to the end of the recognised batters, aren't you? And you don't want to expose the tail too early.
You need to dig in here, but you can't get quite the timing right. That's just plonked back to the bowler, and there is no run. Phil looking keen, doing the backing up as well. Right timing again. Right-handed batter thinks about coming forward and plays it, and then decides to go back instead and defend it straight back to the bowler. There is no run.
I've got to say, you've rolled out the red carpet with the short boundaries, but the weather is amazing this week. I think perfect cricket weather.
That was almost on time there, as the sun comes out and it goes wide down the leg side as the batter tries to have a little go at that, but down the leg side it goes. Another one to the total. 52 for 3. Yes, the weather has been absolutely amazing. In fact, too hot for me. As a Brit, I like to whinge about the weather, and the whinging pole, of course. As the right arm comes in again. Struggling with the timing here. That's the end of the over, so another over goes by. 9 overs gone. Middlesex are 52 for 5. Struggling here. Pearson on 2, Irving on 3.
Yeah, it's just heavy work at the moment. I think I just heard an Aussie, oi, oi, oi. I don't know what's going on over there. We have to do our research. It seems like there might be another Australian school or two on a school trip here. One thing I've got to give it to you. Australia's kind of had the wood over England for a while now, on balance. But you've definitely got us with chanting. You've definitely got us with singing at grounds. Because the best we can come up with is Aussie, oi, oi, oi. Which isn't that amazing. And even we can't do that.
Bearing in mind we do an oggy.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of, I'm not sure who copied who there.
You've got a bit more depth and breadth in your chance, though. Anyway.
Webster comes in again, and that's cramped up the batter. She can't get that ball away, and the wicketkeeper does the tidying up, and there is no run.
Yeah, I wonder what's a good score here. From 52 for 5, we're almost halfway through. Even if they can get up to kind of run a ball pace 120 or something, I think it's competitive. Both teams have to bat. I just think they've removed the left-hander as well.
And that's carved outside of off, but straight to the field, and there is no run. She's getting tempted here, isn't she, Irving? She wants to play anything that doesn't feel like it's a risk to her stumps, and she put one nicely past point the last over, and she got a good piece of that, but unfortunately straight to the fielder.
Yeah, Webster's been really good at not straying onto leg where the short boundary is from this end.
Irving up and over the field there. It's a good shot there. They're going to have to run those because I think it's going to stop near the boundary. It is. So they've got 2 there. Good run out there for the 2 Aussie fielders.
The other thing that we associate with Australia is the grounds being a bit bigger as well. And I think you can see that with the Australian throwing arms here. I thought off the bat that was going to be 3. It went to the long boundary, but it was absolutely hurled back in at velocity. There was no chance of that 3rd run.
It was. Webster in again. Irving plays that straight to the fielder. Oh, there's a shot at the stumps. They're going to have to keep an eye on that one. Keeping the backing up batter honest there. 54 for 5. Webster into Irving. Bends her knees, plays that outside of off. Through the fielders, it's going towards the rope. We're going to get another boundary. Yes, we are. Another boundary there. Played nicely outside of off there. Sort of no risk again. And 4 more to the total.
Yeah, so beautifully played. I like the way she plays the line of the ball here. You don't get too conscious of the long boundary, short boundary thing, because then you start making poor choices. We've already seen it probably cost a wicket or 2. Still rolling really nicely. It has been pretty balmy here. Last ball, the 10th over coming up.
It is indeed, and that's worked into the offside again to those fielders who had that bit of a run the last ball. And 1 more to the total, so total moves to, after 10 overs, 59 for 5. Irving on 10, Pearson on 2, and I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Kevin Hand in a moment, and I'll hand you over to Vinny.
Thanks very much, Claire Jenkins, and yeah, it's great to have your company wherever you're watching from around the world. Our broadcast here from the Lord's Cricket Ground, the home of cricket in London, as we're watching Middlesex taking on the touring SCG XI from Australia. SCG XI winning the toss and electing to bowl and capturing 5 wickets in the first half of the innings. It looks like this will be Amy Rabbit to continue with her leg spin. A good ball, beats the outside edge, maybe a little bit of turn there as a welcome Kevin Hand back into the commentary box. And what do you make of it so far, Kevin?
Morning, Vinny. Yeah, it's tough. Middlesex will be disappointed with this. They don't get too many goes at Lords.
It's a little bit straight there down the leg side. Not quite sure if there's a little tickle on this. Get through for one. It's been called wide, so 2 to the total.
Yeah, just a little bit looser down the leg side there. That offside boundary is clearly going to affect the bowlers all day long, isn't it? And you might have just seen that from Ravel there.
Definitely conscious of not giving too much width outside that off stump.
But yeah, to answer your question, I think, you know, having just missed out on finals day, this is a big day in itself for Middlesex. Not overstating it too much, but clearly Middlesex women ideally love more action at Lords.
Seems in a bit of an awkward position sometimes there, kind of backing away, the ball following her, not really able to free her arms at the moment. Pearson, and these batters are in a tough situation, aren't they, with 5 down after about the halfway point of the innings. Use the feet this time, some indecision. Again, another dot ball.
Yeah, I think there's a lot at play here, as you touched on. The green surface here, which should lend itself to seam. And well, as Shane Warne, his commentary box is just a couple of boxes down from us here, isn't it? As he always said, if it seems, it will spin. But the leg side boundary, or the offside boundary as it is for the right hander here, very much in play all day as well.
I've loved the length so far of Rabbit here, and the fact that she's not dropping short at all. She's asking the question, asking the batter to come on the front foot. So far, Middlesex haven't really had the answers.
And again, that plays into every single delivery of that short boundary, doesn't it? But with regards to the total, it's very difficult to analyse at this stage. You always wait, as you said earlier, you wait until both sides are batted. But because of that short boundary, instinctively you think this should be an above par total here at Lords, and Middlesex aren't on for that at the moment. So for this partnership, it is a case of consolidate mid-innings and see how they go, and hopefully give the kids a little bit of entertainment as well.
And a little bit of fielding practice so far as well. We saw that big 6 hit over the leg side by Hughes, who's the top scorer so far. She fell for 27, 62 for 5 here after 11.
Yeah, I hope the teachers in there are on the ball today, because they're going to have to protect the kids. It is a short boundary and they are right there, so I'm sure the teachers will have been well briefed by the MCC and the few stewards in there maybe as well.
Daisy Webster to continue, 7 off her first over. There's that ring of fielders. I like the depth they're at the moment. The infield circle is slightly smaller in women's cricket, but they're at a good depth. Stint from that where they're kind of stopping that single, aren't they, and creating that dot ball pressure. Case in point, another decent shot, but straight to the fielder. They do get away for one more, so good pressure, but then given up. An extra run to the total, badly needed. Webster following up from Plummer at that pavilion end. It overdoes the width this time. It will be called a wide. But I'm impressed with how SCG have summed up the conditions so far with their lines, the lengths, their plans, their fields, and they have made it really, really tough.
I think it's a batting side, you can let it get into your head sometimes, as you can as a fielding side, but batting sides particularly, sometimes it is best just to play the game that's in front of you, forget about the dimensions until you really are looking to hit out.
Delivery, really good delivery. Drew Irving forward, and that little bit of seam movement coming into play again, I think.
Yeah, it's against the slope, isn't it? Was there a little bit of late movement, or was it off the surface? I think a little bit of both, perhaps. Might have just been a fraction of late swing on that. We'll see a better... Yeah, there we go.
Little leg movement off the seam, and a very good delivery. This one knocked away. There's a sweeper out there at deep point. Might think about 2, but once again you can see throwing up very strong and beautifully picked up as well by the keeper, Eva Rag, who I think has been excellent behind the stump so far for SCG.
I mean, we touched on that earlier, didn't we, in terms of Hughes at Radlett a couple of weeks back, where the bounce can be a little inconsistent, and especially if you stood back and the ball does grub a little on you, which it can do at an outground. That's clearly not in play today here at Lord's, but certainly the surface, as we've seen that swing there, and the slope obviously affects the trajectory of the ball so much as well, which can make it so difficult for the keepers. It's one of the things, of all the things that are discussed about Lord's, that is probably not discussed enough, just how tough it is for keepers.
Tries the full ball this time, low full toss, clunked out to mid-off for a single, well run that time. That'll be the end of the over, so 66 for 5 after 12 overs. Vinny Sandu here, Mr. Maximo, as our viewers would probably know me that are tuning in from all around Europe, and Kevin Hand with me taking you through his first 2 matches today. SCG 11, they play Middlesex here, but they also play the MCC later in the day.
But yeah, as you touched on there, Vinny, SCG have done everything right here so far, and that's what will be interesting when it comes to the second innings. That's why it is so difficult to judge, you know, what is a good score. Visually, it looks at the fact that there's a short boundary on one side and you should be up on it. There is the greenness to the surface, which suggests it should lean to the bowlers, but how well Middlesex will defend this, how well they will bowl, that'll give us an idea of just how well SCG will bowl, but it looks good at the moment.
Ravitt gets a third. Tosses up again, that infield squeezing in towards the middle. You know, it's my first time actually at the Lord's cricket ground and being inside, and it's one of those things you hear about the slope, you hear about, you know, all these famous constructions around the ground as well, but until you see it, you don't really appreciate the significance. TV doesn't really do it justice, but yeah, we are playing on the kind of downslope today, aren't we? Out towards the scoreboard, and the clock side of the ground, the famous weather vane as well. I'm absolutely eating it up so far, Kevin. Rabbit again full. Did pretty well without to deep mid wicket. Well cleaned up there by Amy Longhurst.
We can't overstate, as bowler or batter, the slope here at Lord's, and whether it's true or not, you listen on one of the Lord's tours, they will tell you that one of the finest batters of all time said that he could never find his balance here at Lord's.
First time a fraction short and straying onto the pads. That is the long boundary, but 2 fielders converge. Beautiful slide stop down there. I think that's Demeglio that makes the stop and keeps it to 2.
Still a resident of NW8, Sachin Tendulkar, but they say that he always remarks he could never quite find his balance when batting here at Lord's because of the slope.
Right off the Q end of the bat there. Strange shot really. Trying to sweep a ball from well outside off. Probably a premeditated stroke there. But funny you mentioned Sachin, because you know, you think you come to Lord's, and I was here yesterday and you have a little bit of a look around. I was here after the test had already finished. Fortunately, it was over before I arrived. As that goes down to long on for a single. Long on's gone back now, but still advantage SCG. Middlesex after 13 overs, 70 for 5. But who? So you think, oh, Lord, you're going to run into some famous people. You wouldn't believe it. I was checking out this commentary box yesterday, and I saw this figure looked pretty familiar walking across the ground, and it was Sachin Tendulkar. And we may or may not have coordinated our walking down the stairs for him, kind of making his way to this end of the ground. But yeah, it's a magical place, no doubt. You probably never ever tire of it either.
Never. No, it's a wonderful, wonderful place to be, isn't it? A wonderful place to work. And yeah, just a wonderful sight looking across at that famous old red bricked pavilion. And what you find as well, commentating and playing, of course, but commentating as well, is even on a game that just feels as though, you know, there's not much happening, or the game itself, what's always in play is the slope. It always brings a factor, you know, even if the ball's not doing a great deal.
Samira Demeglio to take up the attack now. So see some more spin from SCG. Good line first up again, protecting that long boundary. Interesting, they've got a 4-5 field here, so they've got only 4 on the offside and 5 on the leg. Despite that, I think Demeglio is going to be trying to keep it outside the off stump. keeping it very, very tight. Hey, look, people know that I do a lot of games, but you're a bit of a workhorse yourself as well. You've been doing this for over 2 decades now, Kevin.
Time to get a proper job, as I always say.
Demeglio left arm around the wicket again, tying up Pearson, who's 7 off 20 now, and has kind of battered herself into a corner. Obviously, the longer this innings goes, the less Middlesex are concerned about those 5 wickets. There's a time where you just have to kind of grip it and rip it, as we'd say.
It's amazing how the game's changed in that time as well. You know, what's possible in terms of first-class cricket we see at the Test arena, certainly now, but domestic level as well, just the potential of the chase in a first-class game.
Beautifully bowled again, and you see the implied pressure of that short cover protecting the single. We actually say left arm spin is kind of a cheat code in European cricket. You get the control of a finger spinner, you've got that ability to bring the ball into the batter and away from the right hander. Rare miss as this is down the leg side. Well taken, really well taken by Eva Rag. But yeah, and you often see spinners these days not even trying to turn it, but challenging the inside edge of the bat in this situation as well. The ball that goes straight on with the angle. So they're a tricky bunch, the left arm spinners. Beautifully tossed up that time. Shire comes in, but they'll scramble a single.
But even in a match situation like this, that's why Middlesex shouldn't, and to their credit, don't appear to have panicked too much at 5 down. Last 5 overs, they can seriously change the dynamic of this innings still, but they've had to build this foundation.
Last ball of the 14th over, driven down the ground. They'll get a single. So 14 overs down. Middlesex 74 for 5. SCG, well, they've had a good tour so far. They've played in Sussex. They played in Essex as well. They have a 5-1 record through their English tours so far. As we see the flag of Middlesex cricket flying proudly, and yeah, beautiful conditions I think at the moment. It's about 26 degrees. It's a little bit, I suppose you'd call it a little bit muggy with the cloud cover, but I think the players are enjoying being out there at the home of cricket.
Oh, it's, as I say, it's merciful for them today. It's been so brutal, this heat wave of late. All across Europe, indeed, it's spread across, hasn't it? But it's bounced back to the UK at the moment these last few days, and it has been tough.
Bravo to get her final over. It's a full toss, swept away into that long side of the ground. It's going to get past the fielder and go to the boundary. Well, they are from Sydney, and where I come from, we call that one the Sydney Harbour Bridge, because she did make a good effort. I think she actually went too far, went under her arm, and a badly needed boundary for Middlesex.
Well, this, I think, is, I was looking at it in the last over, this is probably one of the most interesting matchups in terms of this dimension of the field today. And you've got the wrist spinner bowling with a short boundary to the offside.
Good comeback from Rava, who kind of had to dance a tough dance with her line. But I quite like that Midland leg line, you know, the threat of turn there as well. And SCG have protected that short boundary incredibly well so far.
Well, that's it. I mean, she's playing the perfect game here, isn't it? It's almost the moon ball, but on that very straight line.
Proactive from Pearson this time as she gets down the track, gets a head start on the single.
There's not even the chance to reverse here to access the short boundary with the way that she's bowling it. That flight that she's giving it, and it's a huge amount of flight every delivery, but it's not leaving many scoring options for the batter.
Rocks back onto the back foot, and as luck would have it, SCG had the fielder right on that line. That is the short side of the ground.
Well, that was the first one, really, wasn't it, where it just allowed the batter that moment to rock back, but as you say, the line didn't give her any room at all to work that ball other than for a single.
Back on that line, cramps her for room, and another dot ball, 7 off this over. Rabbit's bowled really well, none for 17 with the ball to go in her spell. They'll be forced to make a change at this end. It'll be interesting to see if they go back to some pace on bowling. Spinners have done a good job tying these two down. Edged away this time, and a bit of a chase. That is the part of the ground where it still is reasonably long. But they'll settle for 2. So Middlesex at the end of the 15th over are 83 for 5.
So what have they taken? 9 from that one off her last. That's a reasonable over, because again the boundary options are few and far between there, I feel, for the right-hander. I think that's really well bowled because by Ravot, because the high risk is there for these two, and at 5 down you can't really take it even in the 15th. They built the foundation. Now is the time to push on, but the bowlers put everything in terms of the high stakes on the batter. They're saying if you're going to score, you're going to score at very high risk in this over. It was an exceptional piece of bowling, I think.
But also good captaincy from Hayley Zutch as well to bowl Ravot from that end, because I think it would have been a lot tougher for her to try and bowl from this end that we see now, with the right-handers lining up that short boundary, as DeMeglio will get another over. 2 out to deep cover. I'm going to take a little bit of a breather and maybe check out some of the fantastic facilities around this ground, Kevin, but
start with the tea and biscuits downstairs.
I'll leave you in the capable hands of Kevin Hand, and Claire Jenkins back shortly.
Good man, thanks Vinny Sandu. Here's DeMeglio once again around the wicket. Let's put a flight on that again. Yes, no, got to get back. The dive might be needed. The throw misses. I reckon that would have been pretty tight. 85 for 5 it remains. And nearly a mishap, but not so. Oh, given on this one though. Fraser puts the finger up. And that is the end, and a tame end, not the high risk, big shots that we were talking about. It was the straight line that's done it. And Irving has to go. I have to admit, it was almost a reluctant finger.
And swept there. There she goes. Big back lift, but that big front pad in front of the stump, she has to go.
Well, it was playing across the line. I said it wasn't high risk, but it was playing across the line, wasn't it, that sweep? But that's what they've done so well, is the line, as Vinny was saying, the captaincy as well today. They've done pretty much everything right so far. How right, we'll know at the end of the next innings, but 85 for 6 it is.
What's a miss then, Kevin? What's been happening? Let's go downstairs and get some water.
Well, I think it's a fascinating game that we've got brewing here. I think the consolidation by Middlesex has put them in a position where they may well be able to find a defendable total on this. I was saying to Vinny, I think there's so much at play. It's such a short boundary. One, it can get in the batter's mind. I think the bowlers and the captain have deployed very well here. Their tactics have been right. The green surface that should bring in that little bit of movement. And the spinners have certainly been in the game so far.
It's like Vinny mentioned, though, you don't want to get tempted too much and then do the wrong thing at that boundary, but you also want to make the most of it if you possibly can. So it's a tempter.
There's a little bit of the Paul Adams about DeMeglio, isn't there, in terms of just the way the head goes, just on release.
Certainly a very idiosyncratic action.
Not sure the head tilts just on release. So that goes one way and then the arm whips through. Oh, it's a yes, no again at the non-striker's end.
It's a bit Katie Levick-esque, because she kind of releases from above her head.
Paul Adams, for our younger viewers, is I don't know, was it unkindly described as a frog in a blender? The way that his bowling action, his arms, his legs, his heads went everywhere. Oh, it gets through nicely. Well bowled, and Middlesex not being given the chance here to really attack in these final overs. But 4 to go, there's still time. Pearson, 11 from 25, has had a good look at it, but 16 done, it's 85 for 6.
Yeah, it's kind of finely poised, as you mentioned. What can they get in this back end? What can they get to defend when they finally get the ball in hand? We've had such glorious weather the last few days for the first ever women's test at Lord's the last 4 days. It's been absolutely glorious. In fact, I've been hiding from the sun most of it and trying to find little bits of air conditioning and breezy parts of the ground to just keep myself cool.
First look at Churchland. Difficult time to come on, but I suppose there is a new batter. And maybe it's going to be a canny move here just to buy an over.
Because Hughes was the only one who kind of looked sort of settled, and then she went and clapped one up, so unfortunately she had to go, and they've been trying to search for partnerships ever since.
Oh, that tucked up. And Avati, yeah, it's going to require a cameo here for Middlesex, isn't it? If they could get somewhere near to 120, then they'll feel they've got something. But even 110 on the board will give them something to play with, but it's going to be about boundaries here at the end. What can they do? I do feel that offside as it is at the moment, to the right-hander, the short boundary. The other thing is, when there is a big boundary as well, it's the twos. How many twos have they got into the deep today? I just think the dot balls Middlesex will rue, but I think the number of twos that they've run as well, dropping the ball into the pocket, is something perhaps that they'll look back on that they could have done a little better.
Which is probably also a tier 2 skill. Needs to be, you know, need to get more used to doing that in tier 2.
Oh, would you believe it? Wrong-footed. Her mate, extra cover with a valiant effort to try and stop the boundary, which the sweeper may well have done anyway. But the palm pushes it the wrong side of the sweeper in the end, and a boundary it'll be.
A poor colleague looks like she's got cramp or something, trying to change direction, unfortunately. And yeah, it's just past her.
Actually, I wonder, has she just got a little niggle there? It does go out to the fielder in the deep, but she looks as though she is just harbouring something out there now, just stretched out. Whether it was the quad or what it may ever have been. That's the end of the 17th. Another single to the total, 92 for 6.
As the sirens go off, we're quite close to a couple of hospitals here, so you might well hear some action in the background.
Yeah, Wellington right next door. Busy thoroughfares either side of, well, the nursery end of the ground, but St John's Wood Road as well, bowled behind Old Father Time.
Did you get to see any of the women's test?
Sadly, I didn't. I was saying this, I can't remember whether it was yourself or Vinny, or maybe it was off air this one. You can never quite remember in these conversations you had. But I was saying it was rather unfortunate, wasn't it? Because you know, the test matches come at such a busy time, sporting schedule-wise. There's a football World Cup on, there's the T20 World Cup has just finished for the women. The men's season is in full flow here, obviously, as well, and the men's side playing. It meant that I actually didn't have any time whatsoever. And I think, you know, it was wonderful. You know, I don't want to be critical of the timing of when it was placed, but it's unfortunate, I think, is the way I should phrase it. Wimbledon on at the same time as well. It's just such a busy sporting calendar that
it is cramped, but then you want to make the most of having had a home World Cup, don't you, for the women? So you want to get that momentum from then. There may well have been a lot of people who were expecting India to make it to the final at the World Cup, and then that would have been, you know, glorious, having played in the final at Lord's and then come and play a test straight afterwards. That would have been good scheduling.
That gets through. Another welcome boundary down the slope. That won't be caught. Short boundary as well, as we may have mentioned once or twice today.
Although, to be fair, she did pick a long bit of the short boundary there.
Yes. Yeah, it was quite cruel on the field, wasn't it? We put a little square and it was a shorter chase. But yeah, as I say, not a criticism of the timing of when it was on. It was an unfortunate timing, I think, in answer to your question, in terms of so much sport on this very week and last. Oh, up and over. Now, only just out of reach. Talking about twos into the big boundary. Well, they've managed to somehow scamper two to the shorter boundary.
Yes, I think the fielder looked like she wasn't anywhere near it and then made herself near it, but just out of her reach. Because we don't know what the SCG side is going to be like. We have a list of where they've played, etc. So a lot of them are connected to or have played in the Women's Big Bash League and also the Women's National Cricket League, which is the equivalent of our Vitality Blast and Metro Bank One Day Cup. So what are they going to bring this afternoon with a bat?
Across the line, but a dot ball. Slope. Right arm over to the right hander from the pavilion end means it's slipping off to leg. We'll have a look. Yeah, always staying leg side of that comfortably. It'll be a wide. Bit of exercise for Angus Fraser.
Hanging his arms out.
I've always had him down as a yoga man. Maybe a little bit of Pilates every now and again, Gus.
Certainly stretches lots of athletes' careers if they can get into those yoga issues and stretching.
Brings up the 100 as well, that wide. 100 for 6. Where can they go in these last, 14 deliveries? Dragged into the onside again. That's where that short boundary means just a single on that occasion. Field wellness on the offside. Can they pierce it and find, again, it's not just to find the boundary, but it's find 2 up that hill. You might even find a 3. It's such a large boundary to the offside. That's where that game management comes in. But I think going back to what you're saying about the SCG, quite rightly, how will they go on it? Jumped for the single to finish the over. 102 for 6. Also a slip, but hasn't brought the extra run. But yeah, I think what Middlesex, I'm sure Mark Broom will be drilling into them, is however they bat, fine, but look at how they bowled. They bowl with great discipline. The field was well set. The lines, the tactics, that I'm sure will be fully on Middlesex's mind to make sure that they at least do those basics right with the dimensions that are put in front of them today, because you have to, as the fielding side, factor it in. As we touched on, as the batting side, sometimes you can get slightly obsessed by it. It's a partnership, just 17 at the moment. Pearson 8 of those, and Nanavati 8 as well. Now 8 just off 9 deliveries though for Nanavati. It's Churchland. Oh, the width was there. Just didn't quite have the pace on it for Pearson to work with. I feel she's missed out. She will feel she's missed out there slightly though. Just that one fielder backward of cover, and that was a wide ball outside off. And there you go, tucked up by that one, just the single.
Had to hurry there. The fielder got hold of that in safely.
Yeah, it was well backed up. That needed speed, didn't it? Well, cover comes up for this one. Dragged to mid-wicket.
Putting the pressure on the new batter here. There's a real sense that they've all taken several yards in.
They're tucked up here, aren't they? There's only 8 balls left of the match. Nanavati is itching, and down the track comes Pearson to have a chat with her now. It's almost a free hit, these last 2 deliveries, I'd suggest, and that may well have been the message. And there goes the big shot, dragged out to deep mid-wicket. It'll just be a single though. She's hit the field up, but I think that that's what it would have been. It's like, look, we're end of the innings now. There are some wickets to go. This is a free hit, and I'll take the next over if needs be.
Yeah, they need to pile on a few runs here. Their bowlers will be very pleased with them if they do.
The moon ball to finish. Oh, a slip, could be a run out. And is she back? She is, just. Fielder didn't get the throw away cleanly. Churchland off her own bowling.
The batter looks accusingly at Spikes, like it was a Spikes fault. There was a Spikes fault. There's a little slip there on that surface.
Can you imagine the feeling in the groundsman's hut right now?
Meg Lay will not be happy about doing a mini pirouette there with her spikes on the
That was right
surface.
in the danger zone.
Yeah, in the protected area. You don't want to be in there. You want to be upsetting the umpires with that.
I was about to say, do you reckon Gus had a quiet word at the end of the over there? 104 for 6.
A friendly word, perhaps.
He's never had one of those in his life.
I don't know, but obviously I know who he is, but having never met him, you could speak better than I can.
Grumpy Gus. You know the reputation.
They're rearranging the field here. So is this a trap, or is this just really putting the lid on this to make sure that they don't have too much to chase down in the second innings?
Final over then, Plummer. Has been the key, and well, would you believe that, a fifer. First ball of the final over, 5 for 6 as she starts the third, and look at those celebrations. A 5 for at Lords, absolute delight for Plummer, and you can see that the delight extends to her teammates as well. What a performance.
She's bowled really well this morning. I've been really impressed. She's kept a good line, and she's certainly encouraged them to clack those balls up in the air and give some edges, as we see here. And it just floated almost straight to the short third fielder, and a catch there.
You don't want to drop that one.
No.
It's a dolly, and it's your mate's big day. Don't put that one down.
It's that feeling that they all kind of took a collective intake of breath as the ball sailed up into the air, straight into the hands of the fielder.
Yes, indeed. Well, Plummer, 5 for 6. It's a moment that will last for a long, long time.
Great catch there from McTaggart. Last few key balls to be delivered.
Well, what a time to walk out for Mangat now to face the bowler with a 5, 104 for 7. I think the key here is quite simple. Well, they know it. Look at the field change now. It's for Mangat, it's drop the single for all the world's run. They are going to chop back deep square, which is a little bit of a surprise. There is a gap there then. Deep mid-wicket and deep square are back, so there's a single dropped into the onside. Now it's all change again, and they're dropping back deep cover. But for Mangat, she's got one job here. Well, there's 3 options here, 1, 4 or 6, but not a dot. Or plays. Chops the single into the gap on the onside. They just missed a slight trick there, I fancy, the SCG.
Yeah, it was almost worth putting forwards of the backward square there and run. You mentioned about pockets, there was possibly another run, having hit it in the right place there, but right-handed batter this time.
Just a single. Tried to get it through. The sweepers at cover. Extra cover does well though, ensures that it doesn't pierce the infield.
I think Vinny's been down there. He's been giving them the Aussies.
Hat trick for an 8 for it would be 8 for 8. Vinny's saying. Nice well bowled. They've got to go. They've got to go. She'll be out if it hits.
Pretty close there. That was a close one.
Had to be worth the risk though.
Yeah, that's it. I think also, as you've seen with the tier 2 players, I think it's just that knowing when to take the risk, because they are, as you mentioned earlier, they're not settled sides like the tier 1, where they know and they can trust their colleagues and get the running right.
Swing across the line. It's a dot ball. That's fine. The dot ball that Pearson doesn't attempt anything silly there to get through for the single. She can take the final delivery of the innings and, well, swing for all the world here. You'd fancy that Plummer will have one thing on her mind here, and that's get the ball onto the stumps. But I was saying that 110 will be a game of it. 120, I think Middlesex would have been pretty happy. But 110 will be a game of it for sure. So they've got something to bowl at. It's just how they bowl now. Inside edge. They'll take the single, and that'll be it. 108 For 7 Middlesex posts, Pearson finishes 22 from 37, but it's Plummer who must take the bow. 5 for 10 off 3 overs, and a shake of the hands and a congratulations, no doubt, from Angus Fraser. That's a moment that she will never, ever forget. Simply brilliant performance with the ball against a strong Middlesex side, defending League 2 champions. So nothing to be taken away at all from Plummer. That's outstanding. You can see the adulation from her teammates as well. A day to remember, but will it be a match to remember for SCG as well?
I know they're all getting a hug there. Every single one of their teammates, I think.
Do we get one?
Good. Well, if you'd like one, Kevin, you know, you can have a hug if you'd like. I think it's a long way for her to come for a hug, but I can hug you if you're feeling in the need.
Right, we'll take a short break on the stream here. There's plenty to pick through from that innings, as we say. It's Plummer's day, 5 for 10. The final figures there, I think I said 5 for 9, but of course the single off the final ball. We've got a 10-minute break here, though, on the live stream. We'll be back in a few moments with Vinny, Claire and myself, Kevin, to bring you the commentary of this one. 109 is the target for SCG to win.
Hello and welcome back wherever you're watching from around the world to Lords and the Middlesex Cricket YouTube channel for this coverage of Middlesex taking on the Sydney Cricket Ground 11 from Sydney, Australia. The news so far is that the SCG team won the toss. They were elected to bowl and they bowled really well, restricting the Middlesex batters to 108 for 7 off the 20 overs. Top scorer was the plucky keeper bat, Scarlett Hughes, with 27. Georgia Irving with 23. And towards the end, we saw a fighting 22 not out from Sarah Pearson. The bowlers, well, certainly there was Giselle Plummer that stole the show with 5 for 10 off 3 overs and wickets as well to Longhurst and Demeglio. Vinny Sander here, Mr. Maximo for Middlesex Cricket. Joining me in the commentary box for the start of the second innings is Claire Jenkins. And Claire, well, you'd have to say it's advantage Australia so far, but we never judge a game until both teams get the chance to bat.
You talked about this morning, didn't you? We don't know till they've both had a chance on this surface, but it does look beautiful. But the 5 for this, that was glorious this morning. She bowled beautifully well.
It was a really special moment, wasn't it, for all of the teams, not just Plummer, when she came back, took that 5. They all got around. It's not often that these players will get to play at the home of cricket. And even for Middlesex, and we mentioned the fact they are Division 2 champions last year, they get the chance to play at Lords here this morning. And look, Middlesex could still carve out a pretty famous defence if they could defend this 108.
They would. I mean, we haven't seen them bowl either. So yeah, how well are they at defending? I certainly saw them at the beginning of the season. They did well against Derbyshire. They're a pretty well-oiled machinery, but they don't have their captain Saskia Hawley, who's going to see this afternoon playing for the MCC.
Layla Judge to get us going. Left arm over the wicket. That's a good ball. First up, as it's Kate McTaggart out there to face the first ball. She's out there with the SCG keeper, Eva Ragg, who I thought kept very well in the first innings. And look, Middlesex, they've seen the template now. I think that if they get a good start, especially if they can keep the Australians down the power play, maybe this is enough. You never know.
They're going to need to be well drilled in the field for sure.
Full and on the pads. McTaggart misses out a touch, as she's only able to get it away for 1. Welcome back to all of our viewers. Now, I'm used to having the live chat feature. I know we don't have it today, but I'm sure I've got a lot of viewers out there. But I think most of them know my socials, or they can message me on the various
Mr.
platforms.
Maximo.
You can get me at Mr. Maximo, that's true. If you've got any
Mrs.
burning
Cricket,
questions.
if that helps.
Or even if you don't, who are you and what are you doing here? I get those questions quite a lot. Chance for Ragg now to face up for the first time. Pretty good looking shot, just a punch out to the long boundary, but that's going to roll into the rope. And as starts go, they don't get too much better as an opening bat. What a shot.
What a way to start. Beautifully carved. Wolfart-esque there through the covers. First boundary for the SCG.
It wasn't the worst ball. It was a bit half volleyish, I suppose, but I also think this outfield might just get a little bit quicker in the second innings with the sun out and starting to bake out there.
Going to dry a bit, isn't it? It's going to get a bit quicker up that hill there.
Judge with the comeback ball. Another full delivery. But good to see a healthy crowd in here as well today. I actually know we've got quite a few supporters of European cricket in London, and a lot of them are here today.
Brilliant.
To
Were
catch
you
the
winding
action.
them up with the Aussies?
Yeah, well, I don't know how many of the youngsters are fans, but hopefully they are soon.
I heard some earlier, so I thought you'd been out there.
There
with
have
them.
been some Aussies. I do love riling up a crowd. That's one of the things I'm known for.
Professional
Notorious for is probably what I mean. Judge has another go at Ragg. Hint to swing there, clipped away. It's pretty well knocked down, but almost an opportunity to capture the first wicket.
That was a good stop there, because it comes to a pretty quick smart there at fine leg at the 45, straight into her hands.
I mean, it was quick. It has to go down as a chance, but it did fly, didn't it? It's about waist height. They're tough in that position because you're never quite sure how fast they're travelling. It really has to do with the pace of the bowler. Good comeback here from Judge. That will be the end of the first over. Promising start for Middlesex, defending an underwhelming score, but after the first over, SCG 5 without loss.
There's a good stop there at point by Artemis Downer, which is another glorious name. There's some great names today.
Yeah, there are some great names out there. Hey, you mentioned Angus
River
Fraser.
Pindoria.
Well, I know you
Scarlett Hughes.
you want to mention the player names. I've got to say, the first Test match I ever watched was at the WACA, and Angus Fraser was playing.
Ah, connection today because he's umpiring.
If
I've
you-
been to the WACA. It was very, very hot. I mean,
Yeah.
I was tipping water over myself. They thought the people in the bar thought I was really, really thirsty, but actually I was just going around the back and tipping it over myself.
Well, look, there is a side of the WACA which you don't see too often for some of the bigger games these days. Although we did recently have some international cricket there, but there's one side that absolutely bakes in the afternoon sun, and yeah, some of the days, up in the 40s, it's not easy. As Nanavati is going to get the second over. Called wide, beats the bat outside the off stump. Probably a borderline call, but another run to the total.
I think it's probably out of our reach. We were a long way from the pitch here, so there was no chance she was going to play that, I don't think. Yeah, the WACA. I was fortunate enough to go there. I watched a bit of Women's Big Bash, although it rained.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I mean,
It does
of all
happen
places to rain.
sometimes.
And I was also there for the World Cup in 2020.
Played with soft hands there, but they won't get a run. Crowd really getting into this. I've got to say, though, speaking of rain in Australia, we are pretty lucky in summer, but the SCG test, which is the New Year's test, the last few years, it has a bit of a reputation, even though it probably shouldn't rain first week of January. It always seems to rain. They've been rain affected. And some people have even campaigned to take the New Year's test away from the SCG. It's normally met with staunch opposition. Nanavati goes straighter. Well picked up at mid-wicket there by Georgia Irving.
You mentioned rain at SCG, and I also said that I was there for the World Cup, the Women's World Cup in 2020, which famously England got rained out of the final four, because that could have been very different. But Meg Lanning had a word with the weather gods, and Australia were blessed with just enough break in the terrible rain that day of the semi-finals to get Australia past the line with South Africa and get themselves to the final.
Cracking shot, that's 4. That's the short boundary. Again, it was a bit of a card-carrying half-volley from Nanavati. And McTaggart slams it through the offside. 4 runs, or as we say in Spain, 4 carreras.
Oh, we're getting a bit of continental there then. A bit continental.
You get a few countries rolled into one with
Okay.
with my commentary. But
How many languages? Several languages.
I speak 1.5 languages.
1.5.
If you don't count Australian as a separate language, which sometimes it seems to be. No, I've become fluent in Spanish over time, over the last few years, which
Handy
is...
for the European Cricket League.
Yeah, it's true. I kind of had to choose one if I
Yeah,
want to actually
pick
speak
a Welsh, pick one that is spoken a lot across the world.
Nanavati. Good comeback. Leaned on by McTaggart. Just happy with the one there.
Just guided down to deep third there. Beautiful stroke.
Yeah, it's true. One of the reasons I chose Spanish was because we have a lot of tournaments there because the weather's good. It doesn't rain too much. We do a lot on the south coast of Spain. And yeah, also because it is so widely spoken. And believe it or not, I'll be calling a quadrangular T20I Women's Series in Switzerland. Not this Monday, but next Monday. I'll tell you 3 of the countries and you'll never pick the 4th. Up in the air, it's just going to creep over the fielder at backward point and it's never going to come back. That's 4 more as Rag gets a little bit lucky, but she gets a boundary.
You're going to make me guess then.
So it's in Switzerland, obviously. Spain are playing, Jersey are playing. The 4th team is not from Europe. It's a South American team.
Wow.
I'll be calling them for the first time. And I'll give you a clue.
I'm hoping it's Brazil because they're well up in South American.
You are
cricket.
a first-class guesser. Claire? Good ball. Nanavati finding her feet. But that will take her to the end of the over. Pretty good one for SCG, though. 10 coming off that. And it's 15 without loss after 2.
Please tell me that Roberta Moretti Avery is bringing you a team over to that forward.
I do believe so. And Laura Cardoso, of course, recently took a 9 for, the first ever 9 for in T20 internationals. A little bit of nibble still in this pitch, still doing a little bit. I think the Australians got the best of it in the first half. It was a real genuine London green top, wasn't it? And still is. That little bit of movement taking it past the outside edge of the bat. Yeah, so really excited to call Brazil for the first time. One of the best things the ICC's ever done is open up T20 international cricket to all members. And that has just completely transformed the game in these countries which aren't traditionally cricket-playing countries. Judge comes back for a second over. Single down to third to start the over. Yeah, so it just gives them a framework to work within. It improves their governance. It gives them world rankings, and with higher rankings become more rewards. So Spain, they're trying to get into 50 over cricket now. If they can get up in the top 30, that becomes a possibility. So yeah, it's very, very exciting for these countries that don't have too much of a history in organised international cricket.
I mean, we should also, for those that don't know, Brazil women's cricket team are professional before they had their men's professional team. In the same way that Thailand women were professional before they had a men's team. So they are sort of hampered. Well, they are very hampered because the men's test playing nations get the most of the resources, unfortunately.
Well bowled. Right up in the block. Oh! Did that go into the stumps, or did you kick it away at the last moment? Rag. First, it was a brilliant ball from Judge. There's a little bit of late movement. It's a genuine Yorker. And then it bounced off the grill, I think. And it's actually hit the off stump. But it's hit it so slowly, it hasn't knocked the bail off.
Brilliant.
You can understand her adjusting the headgear. That was a very European cricket moment right there. Now Stanton delivers and beats mid-on. Well, gets shaken up, but then does the knocking out. Rag with another 4 to the total.
Beautiful shot there down the ground and down the slope.
Yeah, it was a strange one. Not often you get hit in the grill. It was a kiss of the grill. Now look, I'm just going to say it. In England, they're pretty big on their head knocks. Now that flicked the grill. I would have had my lawyers out there if it was given out bowled if the bail had fallen off, that it did come off the helmet. Technically, that should be a dead ball. As she steps across and manipulates the ball leg side, and really danger signs now. Rag goes back to back.
Rag taking a liking to Judge's bowling here. This looks like stand and deliver. This is the sort of bowling that clearly Rag enjoys.
I was just thinking I might have brought my lawyers, but unfortunately Judge is the bowler, so I don't think I would have had much of a case.
I'm liking your work.
I'm trying. 2 on the spin.
And for those that can't get the Comcam, his suit is trying really hard.
I like this length though. I think asking the right question, giving the ball a chance to swing. Rag good enough to keep it out.
You missed the Rag in the ball with the bowlers, and it's a batter.
Well, I mean, Rag is a keeper, but you'd think that she has the name of a spinner. You'd love a
missed opportunity.
A big ragger. I mean, I remember playing a match when I was young where the wicketkeeper's surname was Bowler, and that caused all kinds of confusion amongst the scorers. Goes leg side again and elevates up and over the top. Maximo! Rag into the 20s and SCG cantering away. 3 overs down. It's 30 without loss.
Wow. She tucked into that one. I think there might be a change of bowling from the pavilion end shortly.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing that the Australians got away with that short boundary. They were kind of keen to kind of miss wide and maybe even give up a wide on the offside rather than give the batters the opportunity to exploit the short side today. But really clean striking there by Eva Rag, who moves to 22 off 11. Yeah, imagine the keeper's name's Bowler, and then I think there was another guy called Fielder. And it was, say, who caught it? And they said Bowler, and no, it was the wicketkeeper who caught it. And they're like Bowler, and you can work out the rest. Nanavati looks like she's going to get a second over.
There's a whole sitcom sketch there, isn't there?
I feel like I should have written a book. Those tour diaries that are quite famous. If I had one of those...
There's still a chance yet, though.
They would have said it was a work of fiction, but assure you it's all true. Here's Nanavati, fourth over. In the air and gone. Well, finally something rolls away of Middlesex. It's good reward for Nanavati, who's got back on the straight and narrow, and the first wicket falls at 30 for 1.
So we're going to get another look at this now, straight to point, and taken easily there, sort of head height, but not, I mean going, but not, but easy enough to catch there. Beautiful bit of bowling to your field.
If you are going to defend this, you're going to have to field well, and Artemis Downer, well, she didn't really have to move. It's a regulation chance, really. But she had to hold it. She did. And
certainly pleased the bowler and Middlesex.
Small window of opportunity now for Middlesex to work their way back into the game.
Yeah, so Callaghan comes to the crease to join Rag, who is on 22 off the 11 balls she's faced. SCG 1 down.
I mean, we saw in the first innings Scarlett Hughes from that opening position had a big say in the power play, and when she was removed, things really hit a bit of a flat line for Middlesex in the middle. So maybe it could be the same for Middlesex if they could get Rag before she does too much more damage. You can imagine here if she makes 50 or 60, this game's going to be as good as done, but Callaghan gets an opportunity at the number 3 position.
Yeah, it felt like Middlesex really struggled with the sort of timing early on of the pitch. I don't know, can't think there's any great demons, but sometimes it is difficult to do that timing, especially when it's on a pitch that you don't play on very often either. So, but the Australians enjoying this.
Nanavati, good start. Callaghan plays it out. Callaghan's still a teenager from a very famous club in Sydney, Gordon, in Sydney grade cricket. Produced a lot of good players, and she's currently studying physiotherapy, and she's a big football fan. And I mean, the round ball game,
soccer,
yeah, I mean,
others might call it, but
can I
we
tell
would
you,
call it football.
Let's give you a bee in my bonnet, right? And
Give me a B.
I'll let it buzz for a second, but then I'll let it out. Good ball by Nanavati. Keeps a bit low off the surface, but beats the outside edge. I understand that in almost all the world it's called football, and I call it football. I've lived in Europe now for 5 or 6 years, so I don't have a problem with that. But when it gets called soccer, which it is in some countries, mostly for disambiguation, because we have 4 or 5 different types of football in some of these countries,
football,
and you have to say, okay, this type of football. Nanavati wheeling and dealing, a bit straighter, knocked down. Callaghan still can't get off the mark. And there's always a lot of hate for that. But I just think, you know, in different countries, sometimes things are called different things. Like American football is called gridiron in some countries. I don't see them flipping out. And the Americans love to flip out about anything, but they'll let that go. But anyway, are you a bit of a football fan yourself?
I am. I have to say I prefer the women's football, but I'm kind of, the audience is probably not surprised there.
You're not the only one. The Matildas, the Australian team.
Matildas, yeah. Elise Perry, dual international.
Dual sporting international, that's
Claire
right.
Romper-Taylor, also dual international for England a while back.
Matildas were brilliant on home turf in the last Women's FIFA World Cup. The Australian men's team, Socceroos, again, not footballers, Socceroos, they qualified.
I prefer the women's football because they don't spend so much time rolling about like they need to.
Let's be honest, they're a bit
shot and gone to need to go to the hospital.
They're a bit tougher. I think it's probably call a spade a spade. Callaghan yet to score. Now she will get off the mark with a single. Nanavati though, brilliant over from her. 1 for 1 off that. The single spoils the wicket maiden, and after 4, it's 31 for 1.
Talking of tough Aussies, I was just thinking about Beth Mooney. She had some sort of titanium in her jaw, didn't she? She broke her jaw and carried on.
Yeah, I've heard of having a, like, you know, they talk about having a tough jaw. Well, titanium's pretty tough.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I look at this SCG XI and they have all the hallmarks of kind of the Australian system in them. Australia turning the women's game professional in 2008, kind of getting the jump over some other countries.
Yeah,
and I think
8 years on us, and that's then we were ahead of the bunch before.
Yeah, and it shows. And I think the fact that young girls playing cricket now have so many role models. I mean, And it's also a trend that's continued around the world. But yeah, maybe Australia a little bit ahead of the curve there. So super happy to see the attendance record broken during the women's test over the last few days here in,
Yeah, that
in
wasn't
Lords.
just me. That wasn't 37,000 of me, no.
Well, you know, records are made to be broken.
They are.
I'm looking forward to that going down. As this is Alice Whitmore, who's going to come on for the first time from the pavilion end. So you have a look at that required rate. I mean, it started at around about 5.5 and over. The modern players, they are normally pretty comfortable at that kind of less than runner ball with wickets in hand. It means that you're not necessarily under pressure to be a bit too crazy searching for the boundaries. You can generally work the ball around. I'd say for the SCG XI here to fall over in the chase, they'd almost have to be bowled out. So it's an incentive for Middlesex to keep attacking and obviously keep creating those chances.
Yes, as you say, the stamp of Australian athleticism across this team and their approach. And Australia, that 8 years ahead of England, which is probably the chasing pack.
Flat bat pull, slightly fumbled, but doesn't get away for a single. But then, you mentioned some of these other countries coming through in women's cricket, and Thailand's a team that I've called actually when they toured the Netherlands recently.
I was just thinking about where the women's team is actually professional before the men's team.
Yeah, and Thailand's definitely one.
Yeah.
Brazil. Even Argentina have a pretty competitive women's team as well. And it's all to do with, I suppose, the individual country dynamics. I'll tell you an interesting thing about a lot of European women's cricket, and I'm really proud that about a quarter of our games on ECN, European Cricket Network, are women's games. That a lot of the time it's, whereas the male teams are dominated by the immigrant population, which are very, very important to sustain the game in Europe and around the world, but you get quite a few teams where the women's team are kind of European natives and they've gotten to the game one way or another. Maybe there's less barriers, I suppose, because cricket isn't widely played by women in these countries, but I can name quite a few countries where the scorecards look great. As this is short and smashed away off the back foot. That's a long boundary. It's a great effort out there, but unfortunately she wasn't able to pull it back there. Layla Judge hurls herself to her right, but the result is 4 runs for the SCG XI.
Yeah, it was banged into the pitch, and it was the invitation was taken very much there and smacked out through, and nearly got it, but just dived over it, just went into the rope. But a full-blooded shot there from our Australian guests.
We're still in the power play here as well, don't forget, just 2 out. Another short wide ball outside the off stump. This ball balloons past mid-off. Hit well enough to bring 2 runs into the over. 38 for 1 after 5. But just finishing our point there, the Czech team, the Bulgarian team, for example, in their women's teams are almost exclusively Europeans. The Serbian men's and women's team are almost exclusively Serbian born and bred, and so it's really encouraging.
It is, like you say, a lot of the men's sides that I've seen certainly play European stuff is very much sort of Indian subcontinent dominated, but that's interesting to hear that the women's is a bit of a contrast to that.
Well, Claire, I know you can take a seat for a second, and I know the way things are going at the moment, we might be in for an early lunch, so maybe Claire's going to do the early scout. There's the famous clock and the famous weather vane there, which is in reach for some of these players today, I think. Nanavati bowled a good second over. Only went for 1 after her first went for 10. Here she is bowling the 6th, the last over of the power play. Callaghan pushes, gets a single, and gets the established Eva Rag back on strike, as I welcome back on strike none other than Kevin Hand. And welcome back, Kevin. What do you make of the start?
Well, this should be a relatively quiet over, you'd have thought, for SCG. They're in such a strong position that there's no need to gamble anything else in this power play. It's been a prolific start, hasn't it? Rag's striking and the ball has been quite fantastic. I think Middlesex have done a reasonable job with the ball.
Nanavati certainly has. Just driven out to the one fielder, guarding that short boundary from this end. Yeah, I think Middlesex have tried a few things, and I know that Nanavati certainly was trusted with another over, which I think is good captaincy. She delivered, but it's certainly still a long way behind in this game.
Well, there was movement, wasn't there? We didn't have the benefit of the stream. We're at a slight angle here from our commentary position, but we've got the stream for the start of the second innings.
Clever cricket here. That was a tight single, but they do get home in the end. That's the name of the game at this stage as well. Only really dot balls and strings of dot balls can get you in trouble when the rate's down under 5 and over, and you can tell that the IQ of this SCG side to keep that score moving.
Yeah, exactly that. It's game management, isn't it? They'll should know at this stage that the boundaries aren't the priority.
A ball once again by Nanavati. Draws Rag forward. Rag 30 or 15 in a heartbeat.
And she has the benefit now of being in such a strong position that she can think about a 50 herself. We've already seen that magnificent 5 for at Lords this morning. Now, often in a final over of a power play, you touched on it right at the start of the broadcast this morning, you lose 3 or more wickets in the power play and you lose. Historically, it was 90% of your games. I think that's come down slightly now.
This one a little bit straighter work to the leg side. They'll be looking for 2 here. But well covered out there by Alice Whitmore, who fires it back in.
We talked about the evolution of T20, evolution of cricket as a whole, but even the evolution of T20, how you can consolidate through the middle of an innings, but how you can recover from 3 in the power play. And you're quite right, even still it is heavily balanced that if you lose 3 or more in the power play, you lose a considerable number of your games.
Again, pitched up this time, long chase out there for Whitmore, who's been busy this over. This time they will take the opportunity for 2. Look, I'd say 2 types of 6th over. As we get to the end of this one, at the end of the power play, SCG 45 for 1. But I think you're right. In this situation, they'd kind of done the heavy lifting. They could just work it. If they were batting first in this situation, quite often you see a disproportionate amount of wickets fall in the 6th over because the batters are fairly cognizant that the fielders are about to go back and boundaries might not be so easy to come by. So we do see, if you look at the stats in T20 cricket, a lot more wickets than you would expect for in the 6th over. But again, reading the game well here, the SCG team just happy to keep that score moving along. Good over though by Nanavati.
Yeah, it was. And like I say, you 1 down going into the 6th over, often the onus is on the batters to go for it. Certainly if you're none down in the 6th, if you're none down at the end of the 6th, a team will ask, have we left runs out there being none down at the end of the 6th? Have we gone hard enough at it? But they're so far ahead at this stage that Rag absolutely has the right to play a longer game now for herself as well as for her team.
Alice Whitmore grabs the ball over number 7, beats the bat first up. Tight one, but Angus, well, you mentioned he was more of a yoga man. Yeah, well, I think that's fair. I mean, the bowlers need a bit of love too. And Whitmore gets the call on that occasion. She had the perfect warm-up, was running all around the place at the deep square leg boundary last over. Short and pulled away straight over mid-wicket's head, and that's going to be 4. Opened up the leg side there. And beautifully struck by Callaghan, her first real shot in anger.
Yeah, it's a beaut, isn't it? It's too short, but pulled. The mid-wicket in play. Just had to be wary not to pull it into the hands of mid-wicket, but clears the fielder in the short boundary.
The gaps in the outfield are generally over the infielders' heads, and she couldn't have placed that one any better. Just needed to get the contact to take it over. The mid-wicket who goes back on the boundary now. The 2 fielders guarding that leg side. It'll go to one of them here. Right now, SCG completely in control of this game as they bring up the 50 for the loss of 1 wicket in the 7th over.
They are. And Middlesex need to stick to the basics here. We talked about that at the end of the last innings. Get the basics right in terms of the field, but in terms of the line as well. Get it on the top of off. Make them hit you off there. I think that's got to be the priority now. Tighten up as best you can.
Oh, audacious little dab attempted. And, very good take, I'm going to say, as well by Hughes. That's a real keeper's nightmare, these modern shots, where it almost looks like they're targeting your face. But she did very well. It's real skill standing up to the stumps. Some of my heroes in that game, and they won't get the wide call because she moved so far. Charlotte Taylor be one that I'd say particularly good at that aspect of the game. Not sure if this took something on the way past. Not handled cleanly this time.
She went for the stumping, didn't she? I don't know if she just spilled it for that reason. That
I think it's the seam movement there that does the keeper as well. You could see it hit kind of in the left fingers.
Yeah, down the slope, and we touched on that earlier, didn't we? That what the unsung heroes so often here at Lord's are the keepers, because they go quietly about their business and you don't notice them.
A little bit uppish, but over the offside. Should pick up another couple here, so the run's continuing to flow for SCG. Yeah, but it's interesting, the slope's not something I've really experienced too much, but as a keeper you need to kind of keep that in your mind, that you don't want to be beaten to your left side.
But that's the thing, if you go quietly about your business, it means you're unnoticed. All of a sudden you drop a couple of clangers and everybody's focusing on you, but the credit doesn't often enough go to the keepers here at Lord's, and as you say, stood up now in the modern way of playing, scoops, paddles, reverses.
Tries it again. Not perfect contact, but it's the 21st century backwards drive that'll bring one run to finish the over. And after 7, SCG 54 for 1.
Angus Fraser handing over the capper, pondered for a moment. That got us onto that subject was that ball that was outside off a long way, but the step across almost got Middlesex away with a wide, but not so. But 54 for 1 after 7, and Callaghan with 10, Rag 35. I think, you know, they really can settle into this now. I don't think there's any need really to go recklessly at it from their perspective.
I've got to admit, and I love the talking about wicket keepers, because that was my position, and I was a bit of a throwback. I was kind of a keeper first kind of a keeper. Couldn't necessarily hold the bat as well as some of these modern keepers. But being a keeper nerd, we're a funny breed. You know, a little bit like goalkeepers in football, I suppose. But one thing that most keepers will tell you is that they get better every season. And someone like Rod Marsh, he said his best season was his last season before he stopped playing. And it's to do with, I would call it little micro adjustments in positioning and start, and little things that I'd say kind of normal people wouldn't understand. And so, yeah, it's really important here if you're keeping in that last over down the slopes to your left, just to kind of maybe open yourself up a little bit and take a little step left, so that you're less likely to get beaten on your left side. Change of bowling here. Sarah Pearson gets the ball and has worked down to fine leg for the first run of the over. My all-time hero, I've got to say, is an Englishman, and I loved his book, Unleashed. It's Jack Russell. He's my all-time favourite.
Great friend of the mic as well, Jack, who's often seen at the county games across the summer. Selling his paintings first and foremost, and a few books as well now.
That is a magnificent book. I got a second-hand copy, paperback, some years ago. Well bowled by Pearson. Challenges Callaghan outside the off stump. Callaghan, I suppose, not going at a rocketing pace, but with Rag at the other end. She just needs to be an ally in this partnership. And I don't know how many of these stories are actually true, but the Jack Russell stories, such as he's so concerned about his privacy that he would blindfold his teammates if they were coming over to his house for dinner. Luckily, I don't think they were driving. And the fact that he would also use the same tea bag for an entire test match. Playing a miss this time from Callaghan outside the off stump. So, yeah, he would apparently use the same tea bag to make, let's say, 20 cups of tea a day. And it's a 5-day test match. And he would put it on a little hook. And to be honest, there's so much to see around this Lord's Cricket Ground. I'd love to see the Jack Russell hook. I would like a selfie next to that. And how weak that 100th cup of tea must have been late on day 5. And what a character. The game needs characters as well. Worked away. Again, it's going to go all the way. Well, I thought the fielder might have had an angle on that, but Judge couldn't quite triangulate it, and the result's going to be another 4 runs for SCG.
Yeah, we've looked at that deep third all day, haven't we? And I've always thought that they've needed to be a little bit wider. I think that's got to be, although you're risking the edge going fine, you're protecting the good ball by going a little bit wider down there with the short boundary.
Yeah, it's good observation, Kevin. I think you have to play the field somewhat. You can always run to your left, and maybe you give away a 2 that would otherwise have been a 1, but you don't want to be beaten to your right today. Callaghan, 14 off 18. Watches that one harmlessly pass for a wide.
Going back to Jack, of course, the Weetabix.
Oh, yeah. Don't even get me started on Jack Russell, because it'll be the rest of the game. He's I suppose some people would call him eccentric. Some people would call him odd. And these are all things that I have been called as well. So I suppose we're kindred spirits.
And then if you meet him, he's the most normal man you can imagine. He's a lovely man, Jack.
I can't paint. I can only finger paint. I don't think anyone's buying those. As this is going to be a thin edge. And, well, this time it does work out, having the third fairly fine. And a nice bit of work from Judge to a left there, to a preferred side. Keeps it to a single. Who are some of your cricketing heroes then, Kevin?
Oh,
Where do we start?
one of them.
Pick a strange one.
Annoyingly, one of them stood at square leg right now.
Angus Fraser.
Honestly, the fact that they say never meet your heroes, and they're right.
So noted. Pearson, 7 off the over. Make that 11 as this is chopped down through point. Again to the short side of the ground as SCG continue to climb towards this target. Callaghan gets going with a couple of boundaries in that over. And the score 69 for 1.
Yeah, it's that width. And that was what SCG did very well. They did not give Middlesex that width. They did not allow them to access the short boundary in any way. And we said that batters can get obsessed by it in a short chase, but we shall see.
65 for 1 then, with 35 required. Well, pardon me, 44 required off 12 overs. And nice to see a fairly healthy crowd today turning out. The sun's out. What a beautiful day for cricket.
I was about to say, what do you think the obsession is in the bowler's bar at the moment?
I can imagine.
2005 was my first year start covering Middlesex, so 23 seasons, of which Angus Fraser was the managing director of cricket for the majority, but fortunately not anymore. He's out there umpiring now, which is it's probably fortunate for both of us.
How great to see players getting into umpiring and staying in the game. This has worked away and beautifully fielded there. That's Victoria Solomon, who drives herself down to her right. Look, it's something that has a bit of a tradition in England, I think, players going into umpiring, and it's only recently kind of, I suppose, become a thing in Australia. You look at guys like Paul Rifle, guys like Rod Tucker, that have become top-level umpires. Rod played for Tasmania for a long time. Rifle obviously had a big career in the Test arena as well. Great take there. I love a leg side take as Hughes makes sure that doesn't go for any further extras. But even obviously there's other ways to stay in the game. I suppose these days sometimes I feel like there's more coaches than players in some of these teams I see around the world, and so there's more coaching opportunities, more specialist coaching opportunities as well. And cricket's one of those games that I don't think ever really gets out of your blood, so it's nice if the players can stay and pass on that knowledge. Big appeal here. Umpire has a bit of a think, but left arm around, big angle, pretty tough to get all the reds to line up there.
Well, you talked about it in terms of wicket keeping, how a wicket keeper gets better year upon year, as we see a replay of this one.
Impact outside off there. I'm not quite sure it would have come back and hit the stumps anyway. Maybe.
It was tight. I reckon that could have been umpire's call.
Well, it's funny from behind. I mean, it gave the impression she was hit on one pad and she was actually hit on the other, so it was actually a very good shout. And this is a pretty good shout as well. Well, watch out! That's what we call scoreboard pressure, and that one is pulled away. I said, mind the windows, Tino, today, as Rag puts that one out of the ground. Maximo on a dangerous one for many reasons.
What a shot that was. So we talked about a short boundary, but look at the height of it. That has been bludgeoned.
Well, Rag, I might call her the clock stopper, because if she hits one a little bit higher, that hard, that might hit the famous clock.
Well, I saw a batter hit the legs of old Father Time here at Lord's, and as far as I know, the only player ever to have done so since old Father Time was moved up above the clock tower there. He was out the very next ball. Old Father Time had his say. Ready
to celebrate, I'm sure, as well. She must feel about 10 metres tall after that strike. Rag, who's within a boundary of a 50 here, and someone's going to have to find the ball.
It was an Australian, actually. Grant Stewart now plays for Kent. Italian international.
And Italy, yeah, I was going to say, in Italy, what a 12 months for them as well. They've got such an interesting team as well, of a mixture of Italian-based players and kind of first class and professional cricketers from around the world as well, including the Menenti brothers. Obviously Joe Burns, a lot of press when he was playing for Italy. Goes in a similar direction this time. But a lot of people don't realise that there is criteria to play international cricket. So, Ben Stokes can't just say, all right, I'm going to play for Italy now, or the Cayman Islands, or Mauritius, who've recently been awarded ICC membership. But there is either you can qualify as a citizen, or you have to have lived there continuously for 3 years and fulfilled the residency criteria. Pulled away, that's short boundary again. That might have gone all the way, it's very close, maybe just inside. 4 runs signalled as the runs continue to pile up in this second innings.
Yeah, they're on the charge now, aren't they? They're on their way. 2 batters, seeing it well and enjoying their day in the sun here at Lord's. We said no real pressure to get on with it, but there's equally the element of they are batting at Lord's and they'll want to enjoy their day and want to find these boundaries.
Got to say Francis here, be rethinking the left arm around though. That angle is opening up that leg side. He's kind of skating on thin ice there. This is better. Callaghan works it down to short third for a single. She'll keep the strike, 21. And Rag, 47. SCG, 79 for 1 after 9. Yeah, so this means you've got an interesting blend in some of these associate teams. I don't necessarily like the word associate. I'll just say personally. Actually, they're all cricket-playing countries. Some are lesser-known cricket-playing countries. But, yeah, Italy has a mixture of Italian-based players, and normally they've come from an immigrant background, but some of them have been living here, living in Europe for over 20 years. Krishan Galagamage is a good example of one who was very impressive with his leg spin, and then he did an interview, and everyone was, well, what language is that? And it's Italian, and it's really important. I think that you get a mixture of some of these players that qualify on citizenship, whether it be through a parent or a grandparent. Depending on the country, there's different rules. With these players that actually locally playing the game in the country and building these domestic competitions, which have exploded with the immigration boom and the kind of globalization of the last 10 or 15 years. So the fact that someone like Krishan can play with a Grant Stewart or a Joe Burns, Wayne Madsen captaining the side in the World Cup recently is just really great. And one thing I've learned from my experience in the game is that cricket is all about people and bringing people together, sharing experiences, and let me tell you, the learning goes both ways in these situations. Here's Victoria Solomon getting a bowl, and the first one goes wrong. That'll be a no ball for height. So a free hit coming up for Callaghan.
Yeah, we got distracted there slightly by the 6, didn't we? We were talking about experience in terms of over the years, the wicket keepers as well. You're saying about there's an instinct that comes with it as well in the end, isn't there? Just that split-second instinct. That is the 50 partnership as well. Danny's telling us from the back of the box. Thank you, Danny.
Free hit. It is hit, and it's hit pretty well. That's one of the longer boundaries on this ground, and it's just going to make it. It's a valiant effort there, as it was Francis who pulled out a big chase. She was able to swipe it back momentarily, but the ball kisses the rope and the runs continue to flow. I would say 4 carreras más, 4 more runs. Everything sounds better in Spanish. It's something I've learned actually after a while, is that, 4 carreras, 6 carreras. This is how we can spread the game to new places. Not so much in German though. Sounds a bit abrupt. Here's Solomon. Gets worked for a single this time, as that'll bring Rag back on strike with another opportunity to bring up her half century.
Where was the ground that you were at in Spain, where you're working down there? Because there's Desert Springs, isn't there? But there's also
Yeah, Desert Springs has one of the only turf pitches in Europe, actually, outside, I'd say, the kind of British Isles countries and places like Jersey and Guernsey, Isle of Man. But when you get to continental Europe, there's basically the Netherlands that have a few, Denmark has one, and there's one in Spain, Desert Springs. I have commentated there, as Solomon gives a bit of width here. Beautiful bit of fielding, but I think there's always time for a single eventually. The batter's got on the same page, Rag to 48. But we have been using a ground called the Cardamom Oval, which is basically developed by someone who cultivates grass for golf courses. So it means it's a beautiful ground. It's really well looked after. It's an artificial pitch, and I think I've kind of come around to a little bit. I realised that the turf pitch is something that is a bit of a barrier in these countries to develop the game. If you start to get a little bit, what's the word? If you start looking down on cricket on an artificial pitch, then actually you're excluding 90% of the world. And so the fact that this is the way to move the game forward, and of course it creates difficulties for teams then if they do qualify for turf pitch tournaments. It's a bit tough, but at least they're playing cricket in the first place. As Callaghan knocks this into the offside for a single. So yeah, the Cardamom Oval, we've had many marquee tournaments there, including the Euros of men's cricket, the Euros of women's cricket, the Champions League of European cricket, the ECL, which is what got it all started. And also, you can feel the enthusiasm in the air. There's been cricket grounds built in Romania, in villages where the kids routinely go to the nets to play cricket. You need to build it. If you build it, they'll come. End of the over coming up as Rag will lean on that. That'll be 50 for Eva Rag. What an innings, 52 off 26. She's been ice cool here, hasn't she? With 7 fours and 2 maximos in her 50. And she's set the SCG up for an almost certain victory now. 10 overs down, 91 for 1. I'm going to step out of the box and leave you with Kevin Hand for a moment. When we return, it will be Claire Jenkins in my seat.
Vinny, thanks very much. We'll pick up that Spain chat in the second game of the day. Remember, this is the first of a double header, but yeah, magnificent that. And the retirement from Rag on 52 off 26, so 50 and out. And that was the only thing really that was towards the end of the power play, whether they continue to hit out or not, was the fact that it is SCG's day here at Lords. And the 50 in a retirement, which I think is the right call. It's a tough one, but I think overall the thing to do.
Yeah, she's got something to boast about, hasn't she, at the end of the day, and possibly dine out on, I imagine, the rest of her
Dine
life
out on a red inker.
Yeah, it's good for her average at Lords will be 52 not out. Although before the scorers get hold of me, I know that they have to have 2 innings to make an average. But and also before anyone says it's not really an average, it's medium. But anyway, we know what we're talking about. Although it doesn't always seem like that.
What do they say about facts in a good story?
Don't let the truth get in the way.
Right. Yeah. Here's Mangap. Oh, smeared first ball. A beaut from Callaghan. She'll be eyeing a half century as well.
Well, she meant that. That was sent with venom into the leg side, into a gap in that short boundary we keep talking about.
Will Churchland even see strike? 14 to win. Callaghan would have to hit the last ball for 6 to get that half century. Oh, looking to smear. Once again, step to the off, tried to hit to the leg side, but it will be a leg bye signal by the umpire, so Churchland it is.
Yes, could be finished, could be all over very quickly. And I didn't even get a chance, Kevin, to tell you my Jenkins formula for what I expect in terms of scores in the women's T20, which would have showed that actually the SCG only needed 44 at the halfway, which they have, ploughed through with a tank, basically.
Up that goes. First ball for Churchland. She picks up 4 for it, brings up the 100.
Yeah, the theory that I didn't get to explain to you was Jenkins' formula is double plus 20 at the halfway, and it works in the 50 over as well for the women. The trajectory in the men's game is slightly different, so it doesn't work quite so well, but it's a useful yardstick to use. But yes, the SCG are really proving that they're quite some force here. No. Kevin's got another theory in there. I was warned about Kevin trying to get things into the commentary. I won't say by whom.
Yeah, this is off mic chatter.
I don't even understand it, so it's lost on me.
Leg side. Oh, that's going to run away. It'll be wides as well. And they'll run 2.
Lost on me, I'm afraid. You were talking about players that have become umpires. We had quite a lot of players that have become officials, etc. during the Women's World Cup. We've got Trudy Anderson, played for New Zealand, and there's now an ICC match referee, Chandra Fritz, who'd played for South Africa, match referee. This is Lakshmi, she played for India. Lots of officials.
Another big shot attempted. It's just a drag to mid-wicket in the end for a single on this occasion. 4 to win.
I'm sorry I don't know what level Angie Tuff played at, but the umpire at square leg. And of course we've had Sue Redfern, who played a one-day international at Lord's and then went on to umpire the first ever women's test here yesterday, finishing.
There it is, the winning runs, brought up with a 6 as well over square. What a magnificent shot that is. Churchill moves to 11 from 3. That's quite the cameo, and it's quite the victory for SCG here. Handshakes in the middle. Middlesex didn't quite show the best of themselves today. It was potentially, in terms of that first innings, there was a little bit in it early this morning. Was there a little bit of extra seam, a little bit of extra swing first up on this surface? But either way, Middlesex got off to a sticky start from which ultimately we can say now they didn't particularly recover, because the SCG have smashed that in no time.
Yeah, it wasn't a big enough total really, was it, to defend, unfortunately. But a great game and a great opportunity for them all to have stories to tell over lunch in the pavilion, no doubt.
Yes, indeed. Handshakes out in the middle, 111 for 2. And what?
Nelson.
Well, yeah.
Struck
Will it strike for the
down.
second match of the
Yes.
day? Talks about Old Father Time's legs being hit. And then the Grim Reaper exacting his revenge the next ball. But 111 off 11 overs as well. 2 down, an 8-wicket victory for SCG here. And as well, Callaghan 32 from 30. Churchill's 11 from 3. What an impact that was.
Yeah, and that magnificent innings from Rag there, 52 off 26 balls, 46 minutes, 7 fours and 2 sixes, or maximos, as Vinny would tell us.
Second game of the day scheduled to start at 3:15, although I think there was some debate on that originally as well. However, we are very much informed that the second game of the day may well come forward as a result.
And that's going to be on a different stream. Is that going to be on the MCC stream, do we think? We don't know. Do we know? 2:45 and on somebody else's YouTube, do we think?
MCC YouTube
Yes,
for that one.
MCC YouTube for that one, as opposed to Middlesex this morning.
Exactly. Right, well that means then that our timings will be moved around as well, so we can probably recap a little bit more of this game in the second match of the day and review it.
Is that what you want to do?
That might be the best answer. Buy ourselves some time. But we'll be back with the commentary then for that second game. Do join us if you can. It's been a stunning start here at Lord's today for SCG, an 8-wicket victory, but do join us back for the second game of the day.